This is the Mike Schmidt Podcasting Network.
I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Apparently I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening, Mike Schmidt, 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast? Yes, I saw you're pointing, and now I hear you're laughing. Lily's laughing for no reason already. I mean, she's getting the pipes lubed up, getting warmed up for all the laughter that's to come. Hi, Mike Schmidt, 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast. How are you? I'm good, thank you. I'm still married, in case you were wondering. That continues. I'm happy that it continues. I will tell you that I don't know how long it's going to continue. Not my choice. My wife, man, she is just, I don't, let me ask you this, folks. Let me ask you this. How do you deal, we talked about this in You Win, Michael, You Win. How do you deal with ghost fights? I don't know how to fucking deal with it. I can't. Where it's just these hit and run blasts that come via email or on the phone, and like my wife does not do sarcasm well. I'll talk to my wife and I'll be like, "How's everything?" "Great." "All right, I can." Believe me, you don't have to hit me in the face with the dead fish of sarcasm for me to realize that you're having a terrible time. All right, I get it. The extended great indicates to me that things are not going well. I pick up on sarcasm, folks. I don't know if you know this about me. I'm quite sarcastic myself. So I recognize it in others, particularly when it's shot at me at fucking light speed out of a goddamn bazooka. So I talk to her. I'm just like, things are good? Yeah, everything's great. How are you, Michael? Oh, Jesus Christ. Are we really doing this? I cannot believe that we're doing this. Do I need, you know what I need? Is Father Karras out there? Father Karras, I understand you threw yourself down the stairs at the end of The Exorcist and died after you took the demon into yourself. However, if you could just come down from heaven, do this for me. You responded to that family in their time of need, and you helped Reagan exorcise her demons and become a better person and restore her girlhood, quite frankly. Could you restore my wife's girlhood? Could you do that? Could you come to my house and suck out whatever it is inside of her that insists on having these weird fights with me and then not responding? My wife is like the queen of the verbal rope-a-dope. Like, she'll dump shit in my lap, and I'll be like, oh, okay, well, I understand how that's working out. And I'm gentle. Here's the thing. I'm a fucking gentle dude. Like, I will listen. And again, nothing belies the fact that you say that you're a gentle dude with, like, pounding on a table and going, I'm a fucking gentle dude. I'm not. I am. Trust. What I mean is I'm understanding, all right? I empathize. When we first moved to California, okay, I got a job. Did I tell this story about working at a restaurant? When I first moved to California, I got a job at a place called Marvel Mania. Marvel Mania was a restaurant where people went, hey, what if SpiderMan liked chicken nuggets? I don't know why they thought it would be a good idea, but they did. They thought it would be fun to make all sorts of dishes like, a web cheesecake and Galactus's soup. I don't know why. But for some reason, they decided, hey, what if we had a theme restaurant around comic books? Because those people are fat, right? They enjoy eating. Because people that love comic books are looking for, that's what they want. People who enjoy comic books are looking for nothing more than a restaurant that will allow them to read all about the Fantastic Four fighting in the negative zone while eating a buffalo chicken burger. I guess that's the thought behind it. But Marvel Mania was a theme restaurant for Marvel Comics. So we would be there, and they would have, Thor's cake. I mean, all that ridiculous stuff. So I got a job. This is when we first moved to California. I needed to get a gig to kind of stay afloat. I wanted to be a comic, but I also recognized the fact that I had to get a job. Folks, look, I know I have to get a job, okay? I recognize that even now. 13 years after the fact, I need to get a job. Unfortunately, now I would like a better class of job than one that involves me drawing Wolverine on a taco. All right, so I need to find something better for myself. So, but when I worked at Marvel Mania when we first moved here, I told Karen, I go, look, I'll get this job. I went and applied for it. I got hired as a cook. Now, I must tell you, when you get hired as a cook in Chicago, it's much different than getting hired as a cook in California. Although things could have changed in the ensuing 13 years. But I can tell you out here, uh, Spanish-speaking people have a monopoly on the kitchen industry. That's not bad. That's not good. They're not taking the jobs that Americans want to have, slinging hash that has a picture of Professor X on it. No. That's just the way it is. Those are the people who have the skills, and those are the people who work. I read a book called Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. He points out that at all your finer kitchens, it's just this blend of fucking Mexicans and Ecuadorians and Guatemalans and people from the Dominican Republic, and all of those people gravitate to that sort of industry because they're good at it, and it turns out to be that's where they can get the job. So he's basically saying if you're a chef, you need to speak Spanish or you're fucking dead, because these guys will, he explains that, the kitchen staff they'll rip you off completely out of house and home. They'll talk in languages you don't understand, plotting your overthrow or your doom. So, and I'm not painting all Ecuadorians with a broad brush. I'm just saying that if they work in a kitchen, watch your fucking back. All right, so I get a job at Marvel Mania when I first move here, and I go in and my favorite part is they had a job fair. I don't know. Again, folks, we all know about my predilection for wondering why I have to prove myself to anybody in any arena whatsoever. Shouldn't everybody just know that I'm fucking great? Shouldn't everybody realize either A, that I'm funny, B, that I can write their television show, or C, that I can go ahead and draw Doc Ock on a plate and not have a problem doing it? Shouldn't they realize that? Shouldn't they know that I'm fully capable of making a Hulk burger and not have to jump through hoops to do it? Look, I understand that I don't look like much, folks. I understand just when you look at me, I'm an unmade bed. But I can make a Daredevil's food cake, okay? Just hire me, goddammit. If you need somebody to make Hawkeye's bow and arrow pasta, I'm your man. I don't need to interview with the sous chef and another chef and a fucking dishwasher and the general manager and Stan Lee to get a job making fantastic 4-alarm chili. Fucking back off with that. All right, so, but again, I fully recognize also at the same time, people want proof of said things. So, when I go get the job at Marvel Mania, I had to go to the job fair. And it was funny, the test, they try to make it fun for you, but it's not really fun. Look, I'm still having to put in my work history despite the fact that Dr. Doom is pointing at me from the page. I mean, this isn't fun. I'm still getting a goddamn job. But they wanted to make it look like it was fun for everybody. I will say that the fucking restaurant itself was pretty fucking cool because they had, all sorts of Marvel characters on the ceiling and the walls, and they played loud, like, comic book sound effects like thunder and swooshes. It was great. That was fun. Above board. However, when you went down beneath into the fucking bowels of the kitchen, it was hard to hear the swooshes over the chattering Ecuadorians who would sit there and wonder why Fat Whitey didn't make the soup on time. So, which is a lie. I made the goddamn soup on time. Take that, Ecuadorians. All right, so I go to the job fair. I do an interview, and I wanted to be front of the house. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. I wanted to be I wanted to be upstairs with Magneto and everybody. I wanted to be greeting people, listening to swooshes. But because I had kitchen experience, they seized on that immediately and decided, because everybody, again, it's Hollywood. Everybody wants to be front of the house. Every fucking wannabe actor wants to go up and sling plates and be funny and interesting. Not many people want to go down into the bowels of the kitchen with the Portuguese and make water dog stew and Mysterio chicken nuggets. Okay, not everyone can pull that off. So I get drafted into the kitchen crew. I go for like the first week of training. And, they give you this thick manual of the recipes that you're supposed to make. And it's, I must admit, it's not bad. I mean, because I like working in kitchens. I am someone who enjoys working in kitchens. If it wasn't for the fact that I was destined for greater things, I would work in a kitchen all the goddamn time. That's why my goal is to get rich and get a nice house so then I have a big kitchen so then I can indulge myself in all of my kitchen type stuff without having chattering Ecuadorians staring at me over my own grilled cheese. Which is a lie. I would never make fucking grilled cheese unless I made it for Karen because she likes grilled cheese. I do not enjoy grilled cheese. Although I cannot wait to try the grilled cheese truck that's here in California. There's some remember I told you they sell food off of trucks now because apparently everything is becoming Mad Max. The entire world is becoming the Road Warrior and food is being delivered to you off of moving vehicles in drive-by fashion. But folks, there's nothing better than having someone throw a kimchi burrito at you out of a fucking window at 40 miles an hour. So, but that's how it works now. They got all these fucking food joints, and hey, we'll meet you because they're bringing food to you. I don't understand it, but I do understand it. It's a brilliant idea, but at the same time, I don't understand showing up and there's a line of like 80 people. Who cares? I've done that, and then I waited in line. So how sad is that? Why do I wait in line for food out of a truck? And literally, it will be parked in front of a restaurant. I could walk 9 steps and get a nice bowl of bouillabaisse, but instead I wait outside for a fucking pig's head fucking fuck knuckle. I don't know why. Oh, God damn it. Who waits in line at a truck for food? What abuse. It would be much better if they just drove by slingshotting fucking burritos out the window at you. That'd be great. Heads up. That's what I would call my food truck. Heads up. I would be driving at a moderate pace. I wouldn't be going like 60, but I'd still be going about 35, 40, and I would hit a fucking horn that would be like, heads up, heads up. People would know I was coming. I'd open my window and just fucking slingshot goddamn sliders at everybody. Bing, bing, bing. They'd grab them and eat them. Done. How great is that plan? Don't steal it. Copyright. Not copyrighted. Nobody's stealing it. Who's stealing that idea? That's the worst idea ever, but I would love it if somebody stole it. You know what? Take that. Why do I love worst possible scenarios? Like last week I said I love guess what? I want there to be nothing in the egg. How great would that be? Because I think it's the perfect Zen purchase. Literally you pay for I bought nothing. Take that and learn from it. It's like a great lesson for you. And then a woman who writes on my Facebook page, she goes, I lived your fantasy. She went to a church thing and then she bought something, got home, nothing in it. And I say to her, because all I wrote to her was, you are the luckiest girl in the world. But I say to her now, upon further review of that, incorrect. You did not bring home nothing. You brought home the Spirit of the Lord. You bought it in a church, open it up, you say nothing? Bullshit. I say the presence of Jesus is with you at all times. That's what you brought home. And I guarantee you if you brought it back to them and complained, that's what they would say. Jesus wouldn't complain about getting nothing. Jesus makes do. That's it. Hey, there you go. That's a bumper sticker. Jesus makes do. That's it. Oh, you're pointing at a 10. We're at 10 minutes, folks. Where am I? I was talking about something. I was. Guess what? I'm in the bowels of I'm in the Ecuadorian bowels. That's where I'm at. Oh, that sounds horrible. All right. So I'm in the kitchen, and I like working in a kitchen, but I will tell you, it starts to drive me mad there after like 3 days because the head chef at Marvel Mania is the Kingpin. No, it isn't. How great would that be? He's just this huge bald dude in a fucking suit with a cane that he uses to whip your ass. No, the Kingpin is not running the kitchen. It's another guy. I can't remember his name, Chef Bobby or something. And he's the only other white guy. It's me and him. Every sous chef, every fucking dishwasher, every other guy downstairs in his whites and his checks and trying to wear comfortable shoes is Hispanic or Brazilian, or I don't know about Brazilian. Look, I didn't card these people. All I know is they all speak Spanish. They all speak Spanish or Portuguese or some sort of pidgin English, or they were Mayans. I don't know what they were. The bottom line is, though, they didn't talk to me at all. Now, I think we all know I need discourse. Okay? I mean, let's put it this way, I can fill all the time on my own, but I mean, working in a goddamn kitchen, you like to have a little camaraderie. It's working in a kitchen is very much like you're in a gang or you're on a pirate ship. And when I read Anthony Bourdain's book, Kitchen Confidential, he nailed it, man, because that's a guy who's lived in kitchens, and he actually likened it to a pirate ship, where it's like this weird subworld. Comedy is like that, too, for me. I try to tell people, and you know what? Pro wrestling is like that, too, even though I've never been a pro wrestler. When I read Mick Foley's books, Mick Foley wrote his 2 books, and I could not believe the parallels between being a wrestler and being a stand-up comedian. To the extreme that he would write about doing shows in places that I had worked as a comic, because that's the thing is you're in the car all the fucking time. You're going from gig to gig, and he's getting body slammed into a tub of thumbtacks, and I'm just getting ignored by drunks. But still, it's kind of the same thing to a certain extent. And kitchens are the same way, except you're not really traveling, but you're still in an us against them type of environment. And I guess when you really think about it and you extrapolate it, isn't every job kind of an us against them sort of environment? I can tell you that my wife's job is a her against them environment, and I hear about that constantly. And isn't that great to hear about when then I try to help her and then she just fucking dumps shit all over me? God damn it, it's great. That's what I started talking about before I got spiraled off into fucking cartoon food land. All right. So I'm at Marvel Mania, and I'm working in the kitchen, and like the first week is like literally, it's great. I'm learning how to make things, and I'm learning how to all the kitchen procedures, and I'm reading the manual. And again, the manual is fantastic because you'll be looking at it, and it's put together in a way where they think it's entertaining, but it's not entertaining. There'll be a recipe for Italian dressing. They make their own Italian dressing, and it'll have the recipe, and it'll tell you what to do. And underneath it, it'll say Rogue says, and it'll have Rogue from the X-Men like pointing at the recipe with a balloon over her head, and it'll say Rogue says, make sure you chill the dressing not less than 15 minutes after you've made it because the oil will emulsify, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, I don't think Rogue said that at all. I'm very, as a comic book fan, look, as a cook, I respect that you're trying to make this fun for me. But as a comic book fan, I resent the fact that you've put Rogue in this position that she has to tell me about Italian dressing. She's a goddamn superhero. Rogue is in the X-Men. She doesn't need to be telling me how to make vinegar and oil. It doesn't work that way, for God's sakes. I don't need you to bastardize my childhood to teach me how to make a Reuben. Seriously. It's okay if it's just a book, because all the fucking comic book stuff's upstairs. You don't need to make it fun downstairs. I'm down there with Los Justice League. That's who I'm with. And believe me, they're not talking. Upstairs is fun and comedy and where I wanted to be, but no, you fucking put me down in the bowels of the goddamn kitchen. And it's like being in the galley of a pirate ship, but with a bunch of fucking pirates who speak languages that I don't understand. However, we all recognize the Jolly Roger. Boom, skull and crossbones. We're all under that flag. I guess we're all on the same fucking team. Meanwhile, that's an issue. It's like, meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, Mike Schmidt is preparing pasta for the entire Justice League. Terrible. All right. So I don't need those comic people in the manual. But again, I should be happy that my cartoon friends are in the manual because that's the only communication I have with anybody speaking any sort of goddamn English. All right, so I'm downstairs working, and I'm working 10-hour days in the kitchen. And if you've ever worked in the kitchen, man, it's fucking hard work because you're on your feet the whole time. Nobody gets to sit in a lazy boy and make a sandwich. Nobody. Even at your house, think about making a sandwich. You're on your feet. A goddamn sandwich again makes an appearance. Fuck! Why couldn't I have thought of a different food stuff? All right, because we were making sandwiches. It was that kind of joint. It was chicken wings. I didn't want to say chicken wings. I already said chicken nuggets earlier. All right, so, but I mean, that's the thing is nobody gets to relax and make food for 500 people. That's not how it works because you are constantly stressed and trying to make sure everything comes out the right way, especially when you've got, Chef Bobby walking out in a cape and a cowl wondering why he didn't put his fucking rosemary sprigs in the mashed potatoes properly. So we're learning. Again, we're not even open. We're just downstairs cooking. Everything we cook is for the staff. So the staff is eating it and, they're all the guinea pigs and they're trying to find out what happens. And I keep coming home and I'm whipped. Like, I took this job as a way to make some extra money, but the thing is, I've been here a week and I've worked like 60 hours already, so I'm not even having any time to go out and do stand-up because by the time I get home, I can't even fucking move. I'm in so much pain. So finally, after a week, they decide they're going to have like a trial soft opening, and we can invite family and friends. So I invite my friends Pat Francis and his wife, and who I think actually was his girlfriend at the time. But is now his wife, and I invite Karen, obviously, and she goes, can I bring a friend from work? Now, at the time, like I said, we had just moved here, so Karen was temping at Neiman Marcus for Christmas. And let me expound on this. All right, when we first moved here, we moved here in October of 97, okay? We had gotten married in August of 97, and then we moved here in October, and then for 2 months, we didn't do anything. We literally... We would watch Food Network until it went off the air, and by off the air, I mean until it turned into infomercials, and then we'd go to bed. And then we'd get up, and we'd go. We were just learning the area where we lived. We were driving surface streets. We were taking highways. We bought Thomas guides. We were trying to figure out where everything was and getting used to our surroundings, and then staying up all night. Basically, Karen was me. When we first moved here, Karen was me for 2 months. So then we were like, fuck, we got to do something. So I found this job at Marvel Mania. And then Karen found, she's temping at Neiman Marcus. So she says, can I bring a friend from work? I says, yes. So the night of the dinner, I'm downstairs in the kitchen, and I thought we were going to get to eat with our friends when they came in and ate. No, I was still chained to the galley downstairs in the pirate ship. Our friends and family all got to go upstairs and listen to the swooshes and the booms and look at Beast on the wall and eat food that I was churning out. But I didn't get to join them. It wasn't like a fun party. It was like work, but your friends got to come and benefit from it. It was fucking horrible. So I was like, all right, that's fine. So Karen said she was bringing her friend Henry from Neiman Marcus. I had never met Henry, but being it the fact that it was a guy who worked at the perfume counter, I could only assume that Henry enjoyed cock. Not on the menu at Marvel Mania. At least not under that name. There may have been Los Cock. I don't know. I wasn't privy to every dish that we made. Again, I'm busy having getting lessons with the X-Men on how to make salad dressing. so, so she brings Henry to the thing. Now we're downstairs, we're cooking, and I don't know what the fuck's going on upstairs. We're making food, we're making burgers, churning it out, and there comes a point where there's a break where I can go upstairs and talk to my friends. So I go upstairs, and I don't know where they're sitting. You have to kind of walk through the restaurant. So the way the restaurant was designed, it was all squiggles and upside down and backwards, and there was holes in the wall. It was a comic book come to life, blah blah. So I look through the restaurant and I see there's a certain like a hole by a booth, like you can see through it, and all I see is hair, like this crazy afro. And I'm like, well, that's not them. So then I walk, and then I see a group of four, and I go over. It's not them. I'm walking around. I can't find them. They must have eaten and left. And I'm like, that sucks. Why would they eat and leave? It makes no sense. So I walk to go back downstairs, and I hear Michael. And I turn around, and it's Karen. So I go, I'm like, where are you? She goes, over here. And I see her wave. I just see her hand waving above the afro. Now I know Pat doesn't have an afro. I know his girlfriend at the time, now wife, does not have an afro, although she looked terrific in one. And I know that Karen, at least when she left the house today, did not have an afro. This leaves Henry. I come around the corner. I make the first thing I see is Pat looking at me with a face like a can you believe this face. I have to tell you, I've never met Henry. Pat and his wife have never met Henry. So I don't know what the fuck to expect. I come around the corner and I see Pat and his wife, and Pat looks at me with eye contact, like with a smirk. I look at my wife, and she's on the inside of the booth. On the outside is Henry. He has a 9-inch afro. I'm not lying. He looks like the fly in Car Wash. Like, have you ever seen... That's a dated reference for all you young people. Go look it up. But there was a character named The Fly. I believe Franklin Ajayi played him. And it is the craziest afro in history. It looks... You ever see the Hair Bear Bunch? Like on the cartoon? With a crazy poop... He looks like he's got every player in the ABA from the 70s on his head. That's who it was. It looked like Julius Erving had Bad News Marvin Barnes, had Darnell Hillman all on his head. That's how big this afro is. He looked like God's boom mic. That's what he looked like. The craziest fucking afro. It was horrendous. Like, I was waiting for Artie Johnson to poke his head out of it and say, very interesting. That's how fucking crazy this afro was. And I make eye contact with this guy, and I just go, are you serious? And Karen immediately gives me a dirty look, and Pat, he just looks at me, and I go, hey, everybody, how was the food? Like, because I don't want to pillory this guy in front of everyone, but it's like, he knows, right? He knows what he's doing. So I try to ignore the hairy elephant in the room as I touch base with them, and I'm standing there in my chef's whites, and there's nothing worse than talking to people when you're at work. It was awful, just demeaning and terrible. So, but the food, I guess they enjoyed the food, but who can tell? I mean, I can't see if Henry enjoyed it because, again, he's hiding under George McGinnis, so I don't know. Again, these are great references if you know the ABA of the 70s. Jesus Christ. This guy has Artist Gilmore in sitting Indian style on top of his head. All right. Crazy. So I can't believe that this is happening. I fake my way through a conversation before I fucking destroy this guy because and I'm like, was the food good? Yes, and I leave. And then Karen has to drive him home, and I get that story where I can't even imagine, first of all, how she crammed the afro into the car because she had like a convertible at the time. She probably had to take the convertible down. She probably did. And then I see her at home that night. I'm like, honestly, what was that about? Because I'm embarrassed because, again, I don't know Pat and his wife that well at the time. I knew Pat from Chicago, but not a lot. I mean, we weren't great friends. We just knew each other. Um, so I was embarrassed that even occurred. And I'm like, why that guy? She goes, what am I supposed to do? Tell him not because he works with me. He's bald. I go, all right. And she goes, I expected a bald guy to show up. He shows up with a 9-foot afro. What the fuck am I supposed to do about it? I'm like, yeah, you know what? She has a point. Because again, you're not the hair police. You can't just look at the guy and go, you know what, buddy? Why don't you go to the coat check and hang that up? Because that is not going to work. She was just as surprised as the rest of us, but my wife is so sweet, she just completely played it off. Oh, Henry, how are you? And I think that had to be even worse because, if you're a bald dude and then you wear a fucking 10-foot afro somewhere, don't you want people to go, Jesus, look at the 10-foot afro? I mean, that's the only thing you're asking for, right? You're looking to be noticed. You're looking for somebody to say something, particularly somebody who works with you all goddamn day long and knows that you're fucking bald. Wouldn't they say something? But instead, you don't realize the position you're putting people in because my wife had to go ahead and take a step back because she doesn't want to go ahead and fucking out this guy as a bald dude. Maybe this is his toupee and she doesn't want to fucking go ahead and make sure everybody knows that he's a bald guy really, but he decided to wear a fucking 9-foot afro. I don't know. It puts everybody in a weird position. So what I say to you bald people is, if you're going to wear a piece, wear a fucking piece. Okay? But don't wear a goddamn 9-foot afro because you put everybody in a weird position because you want them to acknowledge it, but you don't want to acknowledge a hairpiece because it makes everybody uncomfortable. Jesus Christ. Fucking wear something tasteful. Or just go bald. Be bald. It's okay to be bald. Remember Bald and Beautiful? That's from back in the 70s during the ABA time. You guys understand that, right? When Dan Issel and Rick Barry were white guys sinking jump shots and cleaning house and winning championships for the Denver Nuggets and the Oakland Oaks? All right. I'm just going to... This is ABA Talk with Mike Schmidt. Ha So suffice to say, I work at Marvel Mania. That goes off without a hitch. I will say that the hostesses and stuff the next day are just like, wow, your friend was interesting. I'm like, yeah, not my friend. That was my wife. And, I didn't realize that she was going to have to show up with Don Cornelius. I had no idea he was coming to dinner. So, and it's fitting that it was Marvel Mania because my wife had dinner with Luke Cage, Power Man. I didn't know that Luke was going to be there. Don't groan. Luke's a black superhero with a big afro. All right. Come on. I just pulled Luke Cage, Power Man out of nowhere. Fuck off, everybody. Don't make me pull out Iron Fist and the Falcon. All right. Don't even pretend you know who they are. Falcon, another black superhero. All right. So... did you just flip me off?
No, I said there's two.
There's two. Yes, there are two. Listen, affirmative action has helped. However, still a shortage of Ecuadorian superheroes. However, in the kitchen, no shortage of Ecuadorian superheroes because they perform above and beyond. Just ask Anthony Bourdain. I'll tell you about it in a book. So I work at Marvel Mania. And then I finally come home, like the next day I go to work, and they're like, you know what, it went off without a hitch, the smooth opening, so we're going to go ahead and open in a week, but we need to buckle down now. We're going to have to put in a few more hours here to make sure we get everything right. So that day I work, and I was so beat down, man. I was in so much pain, and I foot pain because I'm a fat dude standing up, and granted I'm wearing like comfortable shoes, but it doesn't matter. It's just such a terrible fucking gig. But it wasn't. It's a great gig. It's good money, and it's if you can do nothing else. But it was driving me insane being on my feet and not being able to talk. That's the thing. Maybe that's why I have such a fucking backlog now of words. Because of that 3-week or 2.5-week period when I did not speak to anybody. Like, except to say, like K and andale. I think I said andale a couple of times, just for my own entertainment. Andale means nothing in Portuguese, or Ecuadorian, or whatever the fuck it was they were chattering about. But I was going ahead and spilling out whatever, because it was entertaining me to try to be that guy. So I come home that night after a 12-hour shift. And I had been coming home and taking hot showers, okay, every night, just to get the stink of the kitchen off of me. But also because I was sore, man. I was fucking beat up. But this night, I came home and I filled the tub with hot water. Now, I should tell you this. When I say hot water, folks, I mean fucking hot. I mean, I am never going to feel clean type of hot water. That's who I am. I like hot showers. I like hot baths. I like hot ladies. But I will tell you that I filled my bathtub up with the hottest water that I possibly could, and Karen wasn't home from work yet. And I climbed into the bathtub, and I just sat there and soaked in a hot tub like a fucking Calgon take me away lady. I sat there for like 45 minutes, and then I would drain the tub and fill it with hot water again, just constantly. My skin was so red. I looked very lobster-esque, like a huge fat dude lobster. And I was in the tub for about an hour and a half, just emptying and refilling with the hottest water I could. And then finally Karen walks in, and she comes in. She goes, "Are you okay?" I go, I don't know. She goes, "You look terrible." I go, "Well, yeah. I mean, it was tough." And she goes, "No, you like how hot is that water? Because it's like you couldn't even barely steam me through the steam." And she goes, "You're so red. Like, why are you in such a hot tub?" And I go, "I've been in here for like 2 hours." She said, "What?" I said, "Honey, I can't do it anymore." She goes, "What?" I go, I can't. I can't work there." Because we had made a pledge, like when we came to town, and like I said, we killed 2 months doing nothing, and then we were like, "Fuck it, let's just get jobs. Let's do this. We're gonna make this work." Because it was a big move. She had never lived outside of Illinois, and it was a big step. We had just gotten married, so everything was kind of beginning, and for me to look at her and go, "Man, I can't work there anymore." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Honey, because I had been telling her over the couple of weeks, but kind of trying to keep it to myself." I go, "Look, nobody in the kitchen speaks any English. I don't get to talk to anybody because she knew I originally wanted to be like a host or a waiter, but there was a little more money in the kitchen, and they put me there anyway because that was the experience." And so now I'm telling her, I go, I can't be on my feet. I'm sore. I said, if you go with me on this, I said, I will. Trust me. Tomorrow morning, I will do everything I can to get work doing something that I want to do. I said, I can't just settle for this right now because it's killing me. I'm not even getting the time to do what we came here to do. Now, you got to recognize, I'm telling this to somebody who's temping at Neiman Marcus, okay? Someone who has worked her whole life in insurance and been in sales and been a coordinator, someone who had great jobs in Chicago and now has come to L.A. and is busy trying to sell bells to Debbie Reynolds' assistant. You know what I mean? It's like, but we took what we had to take to try to make some money. And I told her flat out, I said, "Look, man, I can't do this. I can't. And if you back me up on this, I will definitely make this work. I promise." And she looked at me and she said, "Okay." She goes, "If you can't do that job, I understand." She goes, "I support you, whatever you want to do, and I trust you. I know we moved out here. We're going to be great. We're going to make it, and it's going to be fine." I said, "Thank you." That's because it was a relief because I'll be truly honest with you folks. I was fucking quitting anyway. Okay. I mean, I was going to go in the next day and quit and figure out whatever I could do on the fly. But in the spirit of being married and honesty and being together, I figured I had to let her in on my plans. But I also had to make it sound like she had something to do with it. Because quite frankly, she did. All right. In the larger scheme of things, this was because now all these decisions affected both of us. It wasn't selfish Mike anymore who could just go, did I ever tell you the story about when I got a job? I got a job once in Chicago, and I needed a job, man. I really needed a fucking job. When I was at a point where I had to do something. I was living with my brothers, and I went and got a job doing like paper sales at a fax place. I don't know what the fuck, horrible. So I walk in and I get the job, and they hire me. I said, "Great." They said, "Come on in tomorrow morning." I said, "Perfect. I'll be there at 9." And I skipped. I didn't go to work the next day because I did that thing where I said, "Oh, I thought you told me to start the next day." So then I come in the next day at 9, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What? I start work today." And they go, "You're supposed to start yesterday." I go, "Well, you guys didn't call me. I thought for sure it was today." They're like, "No problem. You start today." So again, I got my free day off, and I go into sales pit. And there's that obnoxious idiot with the headset on who gets to listen to everybody. If you've ever worked in selling telemarketing, someday I'll go into all of my telemarketing experience. But because I'm the guy, like I have a great voice for telemarketing, but I don't have any attitude or any gumption or any get up and go at all to be selling anybody anything on the goddamn phone. I don't even want to ask for a deposit slip at the bank. You really want me trying to convince somebody to buy a goddamn light bulb? So I go into this fax job, and I walk in, and the guy introduces me. And he's like, "Hey, this is Mike Schmidt. He's going to start today." And the idiot in the headset goes, "What's your name?" I go, "Mike Schmidt." He goes, "We already got a Mike. What's your middle name?" I go, "Pardon me?" He goes, "What's your middle name?" I said, "Glenn." He goes, "All right, you're Glenn because we already have a Mike." I said, "Terrific." I sat down, made one phone call in 3 hours from 9 o'clock to noon, left at noon for lunch, never fucking went back. Because I'm not going to be, who the fuck are you to tell me my name is Glenn? Fuck off, Headset Jones. I'm Mike, goddammit. I introduced myself as Mike. You don't get to fucking change my name because I'm trying to sell people fax paper. You dick. When in reality, I probably should have throttled it back and gone ahead and eaten a little shit there to get a job and make some money, but I've never been that fucking guy. That's not who I am. I don't want to be that guy. That's why I'm in a goddamn stripper's bedroom telling you stories about it. That's why I've never graduated to the big time, folks, because the big time looked at me and went, you know what? You sit there. I go, fuck that. I'll sit wherever I want. And I stormed out. God damn it. Got in my car and drove home. Took a hot bath and told my wife about it, and she backed me up. So that day, I was quitting anyway. All right, again, I was quitting anyway, but it was important to me in the spirit of we are now together and all of our decisions affect one another to bring Karen in on it and have her go with me and agree and basically get her blessing on it. And she gave me her blessing, and then that night I slept fitfully. The next day I woke up and I went to extras agencies all over town and I put my name in to be an extra because I was like, well, at least I can make some money doing that. And it's sort of in the industry and it's fucking easy, let's be honest. But it's not as easy as I thought it was, and that's a story for another time. But the fourth place I went to where I went to fill in an extras application, a guy walked out. Turns out his name was Mike as well. And he goes, hey, who are you? I said, my name's Mike. I'm registering with the agency. He goes, what are you doing for the next month? And I went, whatever you have in mind, quite frankly, as long as it isn't making pastry with Ecuadorians. And he says, you know what? Come with me. So he brings me back into his office, and he goes on a speakerphone, and he goes, hey, I found Grunsky. And they're like, great, all right, get a photo to us and have him fill out the paperwork, and we'll see him in the morning. And he says, okay, and hangs up. He goes, all right, you're available? Yes, for the next month? I go, dude, I'm available for the next year. What do you need me to do? And he goes, well, there's a movie called Basketball. And I said, what's it called? He goes, Basketball. He goes, it's brilliant. Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And I knew because I was watching South Park at the time because it was the first season of South Park. And it was the huge deal. I mean, I loved it. He goes, they're making a movie with David Zucker from Airplane. And they were looking for a guy who looks just like you. And I cannot tell you the fucking raging hard-on I got at that moment because I'm sitting there and he looks at me and he goes, yeah, they're looking for a guy who looks just like you. What? You've got to be fucking kidding me. Hold on. The guy's behind the hottest television show in the world right now, and the guy who directed Airplane are looking for a guy who looks like me? Get the fuck out of here. And he goes, yeah, so I'll bring you by to meet David tomorrow, and we'll make sure everything's okay. But yeah, you're going to be Grunsky probably. I said, great. What do you need? He goes, just be here tomorrow morning at 9. And I said, okay. Knowing full well that I wasn't going to show up and I was going to come the next day at 9. No, I wouldn't do that. How terrible would that be? But I went home and I looked at Karen and I said, you're not going to believe this. But I'm not kidding you. The next day this happened after I gave up the fucking Marvel Mania. And ever since that point, all the time we've been in California, it's always been, we'll make it. Things will work out. Something will always come up because something always has come up. Granted, in this 2-year period, not a lot has come up, quite frankly, except for this, which is enjoyable, and I enjoy you folks as well. But it's a work in progress, as we all know. The show can certainly be called a success, but not one that's going to pay my rent just yet. I mean, it's very difficult to tell your landlord, hey, I'm going to be a little short this month, but can I throw in 9,000 downloads a week? Would that go ahead? And which may be high. I don't know. It fluctuates, folks. Sometimes you're with me. Sometimes you're not with me. I get that. I understand it. It's hard for me to pigeonhole a number. But the bottom line, what the hell? Where was my point? What? I spun off into fucking cartoon food land. Karen. Fuck. All right. So, yeah, that's what it was. Karen, she backed me up, man. She backed me up when Marvel Mania was going to happen. And thankfully, I justified her faith. So my point is I try to do the same and return the favor to her. Like she'll look, we all hate our job, right? Everybody hates their job, don't they? But my wife, she hates her job, and then she'll call me from her job with this blistering sarcasm, and I'll try to be really gentle and nice and talk it out with her. But then like the fourth phone call that comes where I'm getting blamed for everything, I just fucking go, what the fuck, man? I didn't do anything. I'm trying to listen to you. And then the worst part is that it'll all be via phone and email and all these different things. And then she'll come home that night and I go, oh, man, did things get better? Yep. Well, how was work? Fine. No. Well, what happened? Like, who was out of line? What's going on here? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? What do you mean nothing? I get fucking 15 emails that say differently nothing. I get fucking voicemail messages. You have to ring my phone out so the sarcasm will not fucking clog the goddamn numbers and wires. It's everything you said was dripping with fucking irony and anger, and now I try to fucking talk to you about it, and you won't do anything about it. I don't. I'm a gentle dude. So my point is, I don't know how to deal with the ghost fights, man. I don't. It's like, you know what? If you want to talk to me, talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fucking fine. But then don't act like I didn't try to help. All right, I did try to fucking help. And again, I'm not complaining about Karen. I love Karen. Again, she puts up with me, and you guys, believe me, every letter I get, you're like, wow, we'd love to talk to Karen just to find out what she did to be able to put up with you and your fucking nonsense all this time. And yes, I completely get that. Absolutely. And you know what the thing is? 6 days a week and then another 22 hours, everything is fucking great. Everything's fantastic with my wife. It's that 2 hours where I just go, man, I don't know what the fuck to do. I gotta figure, because I try. That's what I'm saying. I'm a chick. I'm half chick. I might be 3/4 chick, folks. I sit down and I want to go ahead and solve shit, and I want to get it fixed so then it's fixed in an hour and we can watch American Idol and enjoy ourselves. That's all I want to do. I want to be able to go out for a hamburger without having to worry about whether my wife's going to drive into a traffic cone and murder us. I don't know what's happening. So I try to tell her, look, just tell me what's going on. Nothing. I don't want to talk about it. Yo, you don't want to talk about it now, but all fucking day you wanted to talk about it in goddamn 20-second bursts. Ugh! You know, the thing is, I just want to fix things. That's it. I think all men want to fix things, but I can't fix anything with my hands. A fucking hammer and saw, forget about it. I'm as useless as a fucking monkey with a football. You're not gonna. You don't want to have me with a hammer and saw. I don't know what to do, but fix things between my wife and I want to be able to have a verbal conversation and fix it. But my wife, not verbal at all. Again, I'm a lady. I am a lady. I need to just, cross my legs and look prim. That's what I need to do. God damn it! I don't know how it's going to turn out. All I know is if I go home and my wife is just in the bathtub with steam rising out of it, things are about to change.
Hi, it's Mike Toomey, and you're listening to the 40-Year-Old Boy on the Mike Schmidt Podcasting Network. It's why the internet was invented. Well, this and porn.
They're not just for Christmas anymore. The Island of Misfit Toys is spreading cheer throughout the year. Why, here come some children now.
Hey, mister, you got Gangster Wagon?
Yes.
What about Round Dice?
Of course.
Do you have Hard On Mountain?
Why not?
My friends want Colorblind Twister.
They're in the car.
Do you have Pooper Mud?
Under the tree.
What about All Pawn Chess?
It's in the mail.
You got Punk-Ass Checkers?
Right in this box.
My mom wants Racist Dominoes.
Look up. That's right. It's the Island of Misfit Toys. The variety never ends. They're a subsidiary of MikeSchmidtComedy.com.
I did a show last night. Did the Comedy Film Nerds show. Yay! Live show. I'm doing their podcast again in a couple of weeks, but I did the Comedy Film Nerds live show with my friends Graham Elwood and Chris Mancini at the Improv Annex. As my friend Frank Conniff said last night, TV's Frank Conniff, he said it was improv adjacent, which is exactly what it is. It's right next door to the Improv. And it was so funny. I get there last night, and the Improv on their marquee, huge letters, Tuesday, Drew Carey. And then next door, the tiniest font you could ever, like, it was like you would need to buy bifocals and use a magnifying glass while squinting to read Comedy Film Nerds 8:30. It was so small. It looked like the kind of writing. You ever see when they would put jokes on the bottom of a soda can and you'd have to peer through the top and try to get the light just right so you could read the goddamn knock knock punchline? That's the size of the font they used to advertise Comedy Film Nerds. I showed up and the show was at 8:30 and there was nobody there, man. It was just a death set. There was like no one there. And there were people there who were familiar with, affiliated with the site. There was Chris and Graham and me, and Chris's wife was there, and a guy named Neil who's a good guy who writes for the site. And then, a few comics. And then there was a group of 4 people or 5 people who came because they were with the filmmaker who showed one of the films last night. There were 2 films last night, one called The Golden Egg, and then this one called I Am John Stamos. Is that what it was called? I don't know, but it was that movie was good. That was Rob was the filmmaker who showed up for that one, and he had a movie. He made a short film that John Stamos was in. It was great. But all of his friends were doing that Hollywood thing where you go to a show to support your friend, and you're only there for your friend. So you really don't give a fuck what else is going on during the show, and you're just going to sit there and bide time until your friend goes up. And you're not going to support, you're not going to fucking smile or laugh or joke or do anything. And granted, let me go ahead and say this. They may have thought we weren't funny. I can get that. But I will tell you this. This is why I don't like to go to sparsely attended shows. Here's why. Because then the onus is on you to laugh and make the show work. If you're an audience member at a show where there's only 9 people in the audience, you're not working. You know what I mean? You're not just there seeing a show and relaxing and being able to sit in the back row and fluff off and not worry about what's going on. No, you actually have a part to play, and that's the part of person enjoying the show, so people involved in doing the show don't feel like they're wasting their fucking time, which is what happened last night. Graham and Chris went up on stage, and they do a thing up top where it's really just them kind of talking back and forth. They don't have a set act. They'll break down movies, and they'll talk about the Oscars or whatever, and it's more conversational. It's almost like a small chunk of what their podcast is, but it's on stage. Which I envy them for, quite frankly, because I would love to be able to bring my podcast to the stage and do my show that way. But I always find myself being a prisoner of written words, where I'm really trying to I'm trying to find a way to bring this show to the stage. I'm trying to find a way to be this guy on stage. And I know you don't want to hear a lot of inside baseball about comedy, and that's fine. But this is difficult. Because this show is easy to do for me. Just blurting, but it's also hard to do because I'm only working for an audience of 1 who then, by the way, you want to talk about being an audience of 9 and having a lot of pressure on you to help the show? Imagine being an audience of 1 and having to make that show work. I shouldn't bitch about anything. I talk about being in a small audience. Jesus Christ, I've got the smallest captive audience in the fucking world here. I mean, granted, it goes out to you folks later on, and I'm glad everybody enjoys it out there and in your earbuds at work or at college or wherever the fuck you enjoy it, on a walking path or a treadmill. I don't know why you want to listen to me on a treadmill, unless you're envisioning running away from me while I'm having that conversation with you. That's the only thing I can imagine. If you had me and your earbuds on a treadmill, I would keep increasing the speed, trying to run away from this fucking psychopath who wouldn't stop belaboring the point. But now, Jesus, so I apologize to you, Lily. I make it now. You have the hardest job in show business. And by the way, show business fully in quotes. Again, as I've often said, there is not a show and there is no business involved whatsoever. So these people last night, it's hard to bring this show to the stage because I want to just rant, and I'm also predisposed to having Lily like me. She thinks I'm really funny, so that's kind of cool. I will tell you that. And having the smallest audience in the world, as long as it's an audience who likes you, then it's not difficult at all. Because you can go ahead and just do what you do and trust in the fact that you're doing the right thing, because that person's going to like you no matter what the hell you spit out. But if you go into a room full of fucking strangers and you try to do this, then people are like, why the fuck won't he stop talking? Isn't he going to break for a laugh? Why does he keep circling over and over about the same thing that he's talked about? Jesus Christ, I don't care that he took a hot bath. That would be funny if I told that story on stage. Marvel Mania. By the way, Marvel Mania, I should mention, a huge success, closed in like 3 months. Like, it was closed immediately. We actually went and ate there once after I fucking bailed. And I think I had, Thing Crunch. I don't know what the hell I ordered. But it was good. It was okay. It's the Hard Rock, but for comic books. And I failed miserably. Fell right on Dr. Doom. It stepped on its cape. That's what it did. It stepped on its cape and fucking fell over. So what the hell was I saying? So Graham and Chris go on stage, and they do essentially their podcast. They do a short form of it. Well, the room is clearly delineated into the right-hand, stage right, which is it's Neil and Chris's wife and the other comics, and then stage left, which is the filmmaker and all of his friends. Or all of the people, I'm sure not all of his friends, there was only 4 people there, but I mean all the people who came to the show to support him. And so Chris and Graham, they plotted through what they were going to do and talked, and they were getting support from our side of the room, but none from that other side of the room. And again, I've been in a room where there's a small crowd and it's not working, and you're just like, because they didn't even give you a chance. Like, why aren't you even giving me a fucking chance? So they go up and they do their thing, and then they bring up the first performer, which is a guy named Dean Hagland, who goes up and he does his act and does a nice job, and he's funny. And again, support from our side of the room, no support from the other side of the room. Dean finishes. And Chris and Graham go back up, and they introduce a film. And it's a film called The Golden Egg. And it's a short film about a guy who lays golden eggs. Yeah. I don't want to give away too much. I'll just give you that's the main point of the film. So that short film shows, and it does whatever it's going to do, and then they finish, and then Chris and Graham go back up on stage, and they're like, all right, our next performer is, and they're going to bring me up. So they introduce me. I get up on stage, and I've had about enough of this entire situation, folks. I'm not very good at dealing with it because Chris and Graham are my friends, and they're trying hard, and they're fucking, they're being funny. Graham is hysterical, and they're getting nothing from that other side of the room. So I get up on stage, and I immediately ask if the guy who made the Golden Egg movie is there. He's not. Which means that I get to savage him for the next 5 minutes because it was fucking awful. It's about a guy who lays golden eggs, and they progressively get larger, and but when they come out, they're not heavy, because if they're gold, wouldn't they be heavy? And then he's wearing pants every time he lays a golden egg. Like, where are they coming out of? Does he have a hole in his back? Is there a hole in his pants? It just far too many questions in the golden egg short for me to ponder and deal with. So I bring that up to the audience, because again, folks, I have no opening line. I've never had an opening line, something that I open my act with. So I bring up the fact that how horrible the Golden Egg movie is, and let's talk about that. And I wind up kicking the Egg movie in the balls for the next 5 minutes. And again, on the right-hand side of the room, so I will tell you, it's basically I brought this podcast to the stage last night because I just started ranting. And I started ranting about the Golden Egg movie, and all of my friends who know me like me. The other people, there's 5 people there. In particular, there's one woman in their group who rolls her eyes at everything I say. Okay? Like I can't even do it justice, but I'll say something and she'll make this face like you can just see her like she saw stuff coming. Okay? So then when they brought me up on stage, they brought me up to the new SpiderMan, like to the old SpiderMan theme song. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. So I mentioned, they brought me up with the SpiderMan theme song. They're rebooting Spider-Man, and I'll share this with you folks. Do you know that they're rebooting Spider-Man? They made 3 Spider-Man movies, and now they're starting over. They're putting Spider-Man back in high school, and they're shooting it in 3D. What the fuck, folks? Can they just let a movie mature and get older? There's 50 years of storylines from the comic books to pull from. You don't need to fucking start Spider-Man over. Spider-Man, okay? Man. He's a man. It's okay if he grows up. We can all grow up with Spider-Man. Why don't you go ahead and develop younger heroes that you can then introduce to people, but let Spider-Man grow up on his own timeline? Could that be possible? But no, they're recasting it, putting him back in a high school. What different take are you going to have of it? Are you going to... Because believe me, if you go online and you read about how bad they fucked up the Spider-Man franchise, the last one was awful. All right, we all get that. Tobey Maguire with an emo haircut doing like fucking Spider-Man dance moves. It was horrendously bad. Because they tried to shoehorn in Venom, and they told Sam Raimi he couldn't make the movie he wanted to make. So then, because he wanted to have the Vulture in the last movie. So now in the new one that he was scripting for Spider-Man 4, he was fighting hard to have the Vulture, and they were talking about having the Black Cat, because they wanted to have Anne Hathaway in the movie. So he was like, no, I want to have the Vulture. This is all Hollywood bullshit. I know you don't care, but who cares? I'm sharing it with you. I care because it's Spider-Man. Folks, Christ, I made enough pasta with Spider-Man's name on it to think that I have a fucking stake in this, all right? So they go ahead and they're going to reboot Spider-Man because they tried to get Sam Raimi to make Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, and he's like, well, I want to have the Vulture in it, and he wants John Malkovich to be the Vulture. Well, they insist on Anne Hathaway being in it, and they want her to be the Black Cat, but then it turns out they don't want her to be the Black Cat. Here's what they do, folks. Again, 50 years of storylines in Spider-Man comic books to choose from. They decide to invent the Vultress. A lady vulture, and have her played by a young Anne Hathaway. Because I can tell you this, when you think of the Vulture as a comic book villain, you immediately think glamorous woman. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the Vulture. Again, this show's for comic book nerds, but they were going to make the Vultress, and so Sam Raimi's like, all right, you know what, fuck it, I can't do this script, I'm out. So they went, great, Raimi's out, let's reboot it and put it back in high school, and I'm sure they're going to fucking cast Tyler Lautner, or what, Taylor Lautner? Who's the fucking guy from Twilight with his abs? I'm sure he's going to be in it, because he's already signed, dude, that guy signed for 3 franchises, not just movies. He's going to be Max Steel, which I did not even know that gay porn had come into the mainstream, but apparently, come on, how great of a gay porn name is Max Steel? If you're Max Steel, you work in a mustache clause in your contract, don't you? That you have to have like a crazy gay Village People mustache if your name is Max Steel? Absolutely you do. And it constantly is glistening with lube? Of course it is. That's how Max Steel runs his mustache. But this kid's going to play Max Steel, who's like, again, a robot secret agent who likes pies and finds out that he has been being lied to his whole life by his family. He's like Jason Bourne, but a youngster in high school. What the fuck? Good Lord. Are they just making movies for fucking kids now? Is that what's happening? You know what I've entered? I've entered into the you kids get off of my lawn phase of my movie going. That's who I am. I'm an old man who can't tolerate going to the movies anymore because none of the movies are for me. They're rebooting fucking SpiderMan. You know what? Why don't you just make Spider-Rashomon? Why don't you do that? So then you would get 7 different takes on Spider-Man in one fucking movie, and you wouldn't have to bore us all with sequels from fucking high school. Jesus Christ. You know, they're rebooting, dude, Tyler Lautner is playing Stretch Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong, if you don't know what it is, again, a lot of you young people might not know, it was a toy when I was a child filled with silicone that you could stretch. That's what it was. But now in the movies, they're going to make him a superhero played by an 18-year-old with fucking nine-pack abs. Oh, my Christ. Stretch Armstrong, when I was a kid, it was a toy you got. You couldn't wait to stab with a butter knife to see what was inside him. Which, coincidentally, is how I feel about Tyler Lautner. Don't get me near him, because I can't wait to stab him with a butter knife to see what's inside him. He can't be real. Look at that kid. There's that picture, the topless picture of him in the rain from Twilight. He's like, from the neck down, he's a buff superhero. From the neck up, he should be trick-or-treating. He's like an 11-year-old. Dressed up as a man. I don't know how the fuck that works. What did this kid do to himself? Whatever it is at work, because he's getting contract after fucking contract to ruin Hollywood. Jesus God. I don't get it. Again, I'm an old man. I can't go to the movies. Comedy Film Nerds, I'm supposed to write columns for them. I haven't been to a movie since Up in the Air because nothing, I don't want to see anything. Number one movie in the country last week, Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day made $60 million. You know what? There is no greater indicator of the power of pussy in this country than the fact that Love American Style, the movie, made $60 million last week. Because no man paid to that not thinking he wasn't going to get laid afterwards. Every guy was like, well, fuck, I'll go see this because it means I'm going to get laid. No guy saw that one sheet and looked at the pictures and went, wait a minute. Is that Queen Latifah, Shirley MacLaine, and Dr. McSteamy in the same movie? Well, fuck, where do I line up for this classic? How do I drop $14 to bore myself to tears watching these people pretend to be in love with one another? Jesus Christ. No, any guy in that theater is marking time until he can get laid. He might as well have had an hourglass that he tipped over right when the lights went down, counting down the minutes until he was able to get fucking blown. I'm fully believe those guys, they were banking on getting blown in the parking lot as karmic payback for sitting through that fucking film. That film couldn't have been more for women if it was shown inside of a vagina. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, once the third act of that movie started, guys started to manually get themselves hard through their pants, thinking they would get blown in the parking lot. They're like, you know what? It's like fucking pull starting a mower. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a couple of pulls here and get revved up so the motor's running when we get outside and we can go ahead and cut the fucking grass. Terrible. Unbelievable. Valentine's Day, number one movie. Number two movie last week, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Does anybody know what that is? Could you have more conjunctions in that fucking title? Is that possible? Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief? What? That is absolutely the gayest film title I've ever heard. You might as well cast Max Steel as Percy Jackson because that is how gay that movie is. That's gayer than Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and that's fucking saying something, folks. And Mike, you know what? It might even be the gayest grouping of words ever. Because I said that once. I did that in year one. Remember, I was talking about the gayest sentence you could ever possibly say. I've actually put together a list. You know what? Here's a list of things that could have been gayer. That this beat out for gayest sentence ever. I was riding my Vespa through the Castro when it dawned on me I'm out of lube. That Percy Jackson and the Lightning and the Olympians still gayer than that sentence. HGTV passed on my pilot, so I took that touring spot in Cats. Even gayer than that sentence, folks. After the Clay Aiken concert, we snuck a picture of daiquiris into Rocky Horror. Even gayer than that sentence. We stuck a picture of daiquiris into Rocky Horror. That you can barely make that sentence out because the guy's mumbling with a cock in the side of his cheek. And yet Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, gayer than that grouping of words. I dropped my teacup poodle Sugar at the groomers, then put on Bronski Beat's greatest hits and waxed my taint. Even gayer than that. The very placement of Bronski Beat in there should make it gayer than anything, and yet still, Percy Jackson and the Olympians has trumped it in the gayness. Unbelievable. And people went to see that movie. It was the number 2 movie in the country last week. Good Christ. I don't get it. The Wolfman. I didn't see The Wolfman. I don't want to see The Wolfman. The Wolfman finished fourth. Here's my tip for The Wolfman. The Wolfman starring Benicio del Toro. Look, maybe you don't cast an actor who is scarier than the Wolfman. Benicio del Toro, that guy scares the shit out of me. If I saw him coming, I would shoot him with a silver bullet. I wouldn't even fucking think twice. That guy scares the fire. I can't. Literally, if you're watching The Wolfman and Benicio del Toro's on screen, you're just like, oh, holy fuck, who's that hairy guy with the eyebrows? And oh, all right, never mind. He turned into a bloodthirsty creature. Thank God. I can go ahead and be, oh my God, he turned back. Oh, who's that guy? Benicio del Toro's a scary motherfucker, folks. I can't. And you know what's funny? If you know, there's this rumor that Benicio del Toro is supposed to be in a Three Stooges movie. Have you seen that? He's supposed to be in a He and Sean Penn are supposed to be in a Three Stooges movie. He's playing Moe. Sean Penn is playing Larry. Great. Because, when I watched the Three Stooges growing up, there was one thing I always thought to myself that they were lacking: brooding intensity. That's great. Who's Curly in that movie? Daniel Day-Lewis? Why not just bring him in? Just go ahead and get 3 method actors and give them hammers and saws and tell them to fucking go at it. Have Lars von Trier direct it, because I guarantee someone's going to die during shooting that film. Either as they're in character hitting each other with hammers, or just one of them's going to get sucked into the huge anguish vortex created by having them all together in one fucking place. Anguish vortex. I get nothing for that, folks? Come on. Rebooting movies, making fucking movies. I'm never going to go to a movie again. I'm not. Between the movies and the people sitting there with you, Jesus Christ. I've talked about this, but I've talked about my wife. My wife makes noise during the movies, and she's like, digging through popcorn like Papillon. Jesus God. There's nothing worse than that. Nothing worse than sitting there, and it's a tense moment, and someone behind you just starts rifling through popcorn. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ, you're at a matinee. You're not climbing out of the well in Jamie Gumm's basement. Terrible. They're rebooting these movies. They're rebooting Superman, which, as we all know, I think is a good idea. Go ahead and reboot Superman. Because the last one was, as I've said, they should have raped Superman. I've covered this many times. And in the last one, they turned Superman into like a creepy, peeping Tom, deadbeat dad. Seriously, Hollywood? He's Superman. Can we give him a shred of dignity, please? And look, I understand trying to give dignity to a guy in a blue bodysuit and a cape. All right, I understand it makes no sense. But I mean, even in Superman Returns, Superman and Lois had a kid. They had a kid, but Superman didn't know. Yeah, you know why he didn't know? Because it's a fucking physical impossibility. There's no way Superman had a kid with Lois. There's no way he was ever able to come inside of Lois. You know why? Because his fucking load would have shot through her cervix like a fucking shell from a howitzer. He's Superman, for God's sakes. You can't just turn that shit off. He would have blown a fucking hole right through the back of her and flown off sad. Fucking rebooting everything, changing everything. Reboot Superman, but let's not have. He doesn't have a kid. Can he just fight somebody? Can Superman just be a hero? Is that possible? Good Christ! I'm never going to the movies again. I'm not. It's never happening. I don't get it. You know, my favorite movie of the last 10 years is Almost Famous. Almost Famous, fucking amazing movie. There's a scene in there where like rock critic Lester Bangs is trying to talk the lead kid, William Miller, who's basically Cameron Crowe as a kid. He's trying to talk him out of being a music writer, and he says he tells him that rock is dead and tells him that at least he's around for the death rattle. That's how I feel about movies. I'm around for the fucking death rattle as they cast Tyler Lautner in every single role that's possible for a man in Hollywood. But the good news is in the movie, you know, Lester Bangs is proved wrong. Music does rebound for a while. I can only hope that happens with movies, folks. Believe me. And I can hope that it happens with live shows because I'll tell you, they brought that's before I went off on a tangent. They brought me up to the Spider-Man theme song, and the woman is click-clucking, you know, as I rant about the Golden Egg movie, and then I talk about the Spider-Man reboot, and then I'd say I do the Spider-Man Rashomon joke, which I just did for you guys, and I do it, and she rolls her eyes, but my side of the room laughs, and she rolls her eyes at me, and I can't fucking take it anymore, folks. Now, again, I've only been on stage for like 5 minutes, but I've been on stage for 5 minutes, but I watched them Bigfoot my friend Dean. I watched them Bigfoot fucking Chris and Graham. I watched them sit passively through the Golden Egg movie, which, quite frankly, I can't blame them for because it was fucking atrocious. But the rest of the time, it's like they're not participating. Like, they could not wait to fucking get out of there. So I get on stage, and look, whether you like me or you don't like me, you can't argue with the fact that I'm fucking funny. That's how I felt when those guys reviewed my podcast. They fucking didn't like it, whatever. But when that fucking numbskull was like, oh yeah, he just wasn't funny. Bottom line, bullshit. Do me a favor. Go to the hardware store and look at all the sharp things that you could possibly buy. Bypass them because they're too good for you. Get a fucking rope and hang yourself. All right, so I don't want it to end quick. I want you to fucking tie yourself to a goddamn swing set and fucking hang yourself. So then, not only do you die in the spot that children have loved forever, but then children will find you and they will be haunted by your death. And I like the fact that it carries on. All right, so that's probably too harsh and severe, but it's a little less harsh to my reaction last night. This is why I'm not famous or interesting or well, you know what? I think I'm interesting. But I'm certainly not. I'm not successful. Let's put it that way. That's the word I was looking for, because she rolled her eyes again, and I go, really? I go, this side of the room likes me. This side of the room can't fucking hate me more. You guys are sitting there, and now I'm drawing attention, and they're the only 5 people on that side of the room, and they're nervous and stuff. So then they kind of like nervously laugh, and I go, yes, okay, please, by all means, nervously laugh now. But the thing is, you're not laughing at all. Like, you hate this. How much do you fucking hate being here? And the thing is, I understand it's a small crowd, so you can't leave without basically taking half the crowd out the goddamn door. But I think I speak for everybody when instead of you guys sitting here and painfully rolling your eyes at me or at the rest of us, go ahead and fucking take off. I mean, because at the time, I don't know that they're there with a filmmaker who's got a film that's going to be shown later. I have no idea who they are. I think they're just 5 audience members who came and squinted and saw the tiny font and paid to get in and sit down and watch a goddamn show and Bigfoot it the entire fucking time. So I lose my fucking mind where I'm just like, I can't understand, because again, I hate the proving it aspect. It's like, look, if you can't see that I'm funny from the fucking rant I just had about the golden egg and how terrible it was, what am I going to do to prove to you that I'm funny? You just watch Graham Elwood, who tours all over the country fucking slaying people, knocking them dead. He's hysterical. He's hosted his own goddamn television shows. Chris Mancini has a book out. They've got their own podcast. It's very successful. They're very funny people, and yet you're sitting there rolling your fucking eyes at them? Dean Haglund was a goddamn cast member of The X-Files. I've worked with him on the road. He's an improv genius. He will create a show out of nothing. He made his own, he does this thing where he improvises an entire X-Files episode. I don't know if he does anymore because the show's been off for so long, but he did when he was one of the lone gunmen, and he killed every fucking night with it. And yet he's talking, and you're rolling your fucking eyes at him? Who the fuck do you think you are? I didn't say all of that, but it was a truncated version of that, where I was like, how dare you fucking roll your eyes at me? And I go, you know what, funny? And I did my show right to the woman who was rolling her eyes. I stared at her, right at her. And I go, you know what's funny? You sit there, you roll your eyes, you make a face, you make a cluck noise, but you did not see the Spider Rashomon joke coming. There's no way you saw it coming. That was fucking funny, and I defy you to say that it wasn't. And she's just kind of like got a pasted on smile, because now I'm staring a fucking hole through the back of her head, like as if Superman just shot a fucking load right through it. I mean, it's like, I can see through her forehead to the empty seat behind her because I just fucking laser like blasted her. And I go, there's no way you saw Spider Rashomon coming. So don't sit there and judge me like you did. Who the fuck? God damn it. And then that was it. And then I talked downhill the rest of the time. I did, I talked about Superman and I did my whole rape Superman thing because I felt, you know what, why not? This belongs here. And I didn't give them a chance to breathe or laugh or anything. But she still found time to roll her goddamn eyes. And I came off stage and, Graham and Chris went up and they were nice, and then they introduced the next movie, which is their friend's film. And I walked over and Graham looked at me and I go, I'm sorry, man. And he goes, don't be. He goes, I wish I could have done it. That she fucking deserved it. And I go, I didn't mean to take a fucking flamethrower to the place. I go, I just hate when it's a tiny crowd and they act like they want to be anywhere but here. Then go somewhere. And he's just like, dude, I get it. He goes, that was fucking awesome. And I go, all right, as long as you're not, because the thing is, again, folks, I don't perform anywhere. I mean, I don't work for anyone in town. I mean, I'm lucky Graham asks me to do his podcast and do his shows because nobody knows who the fuck I am. So it's nice to have a guy who will ask me to do a show rather than me showing up and tugging on somebody's shirt sleeve and going, excuse me, mister, can I go up and tell some jokes? It's much better when someone actually kind of goes, hey, how would you like to come and entertain these people? And I go, yeah, that'd be great. And then, of course, I show up and I don't entertain anybody. But still, it's good to know that I have somebody in my corner. And of course, I couldn't resist fucking torching that bridge last night. But thankfully, Graham and Chris were like, no, dude, that was hysterical. Don't even worry about it. Because if I lose that venue, I'll tell you what, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to be doing. I'll just be taking public transportation just to try to bore fellow passengers and make them laugh. I don't have any idea. So yeah, I fucking lit the place on fire last night. So So basically, what I'm trying to say is I was finally able to bring this podcast to the stage last night. I just don't know if anybody else really enjoyed it other than myself. You guys can get me at Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You guys can get me at MySpace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. You can be my very close friend at Facebook, Facebook.com/The40-Year-Old-Boy. You can follow me on Twitter, where I'm, so far, I think I've still made the cut, and Lily Von Stupp is still following me. I have no idea. She's been going on Facebook and warning people that she's going to disassociate herself from them on Twitter because she's tired of hearing their bullshit and nonsense, which, quite frankly, seems weird because that's what Twitter is, bullshit and nonsense. That's what it should be. But she's tired of it, goddammit. So she's laying down the Twitter law. But, come and pick up the mantle, please. If she cuts me loose, I don't know what I'll do because I need her to follow me, and then I follow her. We're like dogs sniffing each other's asses. That's all. That's it, really. I follow her, she follows me, and then we feel good about each other. But if she cuts me loose, I got nobody. So please come and follow me at Twitter.com/The40-Year-Old-Boy. And remember, that's the number 40 on both Facebook and Twitter. And also, if you want to write Lily, by the way, is the Burlesque Podcast still rocking and rolling?
It is.
All right, you know what? You can find Lily at the Burlesque Podcast. Is it the Burlesque Podcast? Is that what it's called? And that's in iTunes. Go ahead and subscribe to hear Lily talk with burlesque artists about their art. And if you want to write Lily a note, you can be her friend at Facebook.com/Lily Von Stupp. And you can follow her on Twitter at Twitter.com/MNTs. And also, she is now able to be followed at Twitter.com/Lily Von Stupp. And if you need a spelling on that, you can go, I don't feel like giving it, but if you can go through my Facebook page to her Facebook page, or you'll find it. Or, you know what, I follow her on Twitter. You can find her through my Twitter and follow her that way. There's many ways you can do it, but go ahead and follow Twitter.com/MNTs and Twitter.com/Lily Von Stupp. And maybe she'll follow you, and let's see if you can live up to her high bar that she set for Twitterers and such. Let's find out if you guys can maintain in the face of her throwing acid on everybody. And also, if you want to write her a personal note, following is nice and being friends is always nice. But if you want to send Lily a personal note, go ahead and write her at lily@burlesque411.com. That's Lily, Lili, at burlesque411.com. Hey, what's happening? It's me, Mike, host of the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast. I wanted to tell you guys about the Year One download set that's available at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. It's got all the original music. It's got all the original episodes of Year One, 52 solid episodes of comedy. And it's also got all the liner notes that I wrote for the original episodes themselves. So go ahead and order that. Pick it up. You'll enjoy Year One just as much as you're enjoying Year Two right now. What? That noise in the background? Oh, yeah, that's me beating the dead horse as I try to sell you Year One over and over again. So go ahead and pick up the Year One download set from MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 40-Year-Old Boy. 52 episodes, $25, one brutally funny podcast. Hey, here's a weird curveball that I want to throw at you people, and hopefully you won't swing and miss as I bring up a baseball analogy because the Phillies and pitchers and catchers reported today, and I could not be more excited. That's right, Roy Halladay's in the house. We're looking for a three-peat in the National League. All right, nobody cares. Hey, anybody out there, who knows web design or knows how to build a website or is interested in web designing and website. Well, no, take that back. Not if you're interested. I don't want anybody who's interested in web design to contact me because guess what? I'm interested in web design too, and I know fuck all about it. So quite frankly, your interest does not interest me. I could not be less interested in your interest. I'm interested in your experience, or I'm interested in your skill level, or I'm interested in your participation in some sort of website building or your past experiences. I want to know all about what you can do because I, folks, am in the market. And by that I mean I am broadcasting from a Ralph's. I'm looking for somebody who would be interested in helping me get my website done. And there is a time frame, unfortunately. I have a time limit. So I have ideas of what I want. I have ideas of what I need. And I would love to share them with somebody who is interested in getting involved in the web thing. And this is not me casting a line for free stuff. There's green involved. I don't know how much. That's kind of why I'm throwing it out to you guys, because I'll tell you what, I had my website done a few years ago, and I remember what it cost then, and I thought, well, surely the price has dropped as legions of college students have flooded the market with all of their coding technology ability. And I made a couple of phone calls, and that is not the case at all. So I need to find a nice balance between what I can pay and what can be done for what I can pay. So I need to find out what and what I want. Let's put it that way, because I want something clean and well, yeah, it's a lot of handwork there. I was doing, you know what I'm doing? I'm doing some juggling there. All right. So, folks, please, if you are interested or you have any sort of web stuff, and I will say I prefer somebody kind of local or close to me, because I'll explain all that. So contact me if you are interested in possibly helping me redesign my website and relaunch it. Because again, like I said, there is a time frame. Okay, this seemed like a commercial. How weird is that? And I know. Want to remind you folks, every Monday night is the Monday Night Tease at the 3 clubs on Santa Monica and Vine. Monday nights at 10 o'clock. This coming Monday, the 22nd, is what? Who's there? Something fancy? A theme show?
There's no theme show on Monday.
Okay.
But I'm excited because I'm going to be a juggler's assistant.
Lily will be a juggler's assistant, folks. And if you ever saw the film that had Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale in it, you know that Scarlett Johansson was an assistant.
Yeah.
And we know what happened to her. I don't think anything happened. But anyway, Lily will be a juggler's assistant. What does that mean?
I will be assisting a juggler. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. So I guess, don't they use the front row for that?
I will be holding his balls, essentially.
Of course you will. She'll be holding his balls. So this Monday, no different than any other Monday. So you've been a juggler's assistant since you were 12. That's good. So go watch Lily assist a juggler in his ball escapades. And are there dancers there, or fun dancers? Who's going to be there?
Let's see. I own a vibrator.
I own a vibrator will be there. Yeah. Who's that one?
Coquette La Roquette.
Coquette La Roquette is there straight from Night Court.
Firefly. I'm dancing.
Lily's dancing. See, that's big.
As well as
That's much more important than ball handling. So go watch Lily dance and handle boulders. She's going to handle balls with a juggler, handle boulders when she's dancing. So that's Monday Night Tease every Monday night at Santa Monica and Vine. The 3 clubs. Go ahead and check it out. Folks, I have a litany of people to thank or mention here. I have a list of people who have sent me stuff or written me. Folks, let's first start with our friend Brian J. Howard. He's in a band called The Heap, and he sent me and Lily, sent us both a copy of his CD. We each have one. The CD is called Deluxe. And if you are interested in finding out more about Brian and his band, go to heapdeluxe.com, H-A-E-A-P. So heapdeluxe.com is where you can find The Heap. And I loved it. I liked the music. I put it in. There's a lot of bonus tracks on this CD, a ton of instrumental stuff, which quite frankly seems like 8 instrumental bonus tracks too many. But that's fine. I understand you like your musicianship and you want to put it on the album, so that's great. But it is great. Pick it up. It's just that's a lot of bonus, boy. I don't give you guys nearly enough credit for all the bonus. So thank you, Brian, for sending Lily and I the music. We appreciate that very much. I want to thank Paul from South Philly. Paul is a listener who has written me many times on MySpace and stuff. And innocuously, I always like this when people ask for my P.O. box. And they innocuously ask for it, and then I give it to them, and then, like, literally 2 weeks later or a week later, something weird shows up, and I'm like, yay! So let me tell you that Paul sent me this, and it was awesome. He sent me the sheet music for Jesse's Girl. It just showed up at my house in a big manila envelope, because when I got it, I looked at Karen, I go, what could this be? I open it up, it's the sheet music. And the best part of it's like a fold, it's like piano. So on the front, it's Rick in like a crazy wife beater T-shirt and looking sexy and hot, Rick Springfield. And you open it up, and it's the sheet music for Jesse's Girl. And I have to read this. This is from the letter from Paul that he sent me. And it said, hi, Mike. Have you ever found something laying around the house and thought to yourself, I should give this to so-and-so? Who has the sheet music for Jesse's Girl laying around their house? I can tell you one person who does. Me. Because it was sent to me by Paul from South Philly. And then he wrote, well, that's the gist of why I've sent you this sheet music of Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl. I remember an episode of you confessing to liking his music and attending a concert. No, I didn't confess to anything. I fucking love Rick Springfield. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't need a black screen and a vocoder to mess my voice up. I will tell you right now, I fucking love Rick Springfield. I'm on his mailing list. I get mail all the time for the Rick Springfield Cruise, which I wish I could go on, just to buttonhole him by the buffet and ask him all sorts of questions that he wouldn't want to talk about. I fucking love Rick Springfield. So I love the fact that you sent that, Paul. Please, no need to even wonder whether I liked it. I loved it. It's right up there with the Heaps CD. They're neck and neck for my favorite thing. And they're right up. So thank you, Paul from South Philly, for sending me the music from Jesse's Girl. Was that? It was great. I loved it. It was like such a different thing to get. That in a band, like, when my buddy, the singer Rich, he sent me a CD as well. I've mentioned Rich before, and he's got once the CD comes, I'll plug it again. But it's same thing. I love that. So anybody who wants to send me stuff is great. I want to thank Tom Van Dusen. I'm going to say his name because you're going to find it out when you go to his website anyway. Tom Van Dusen sent me a zine that he drew, which with a really cool story in it, and he has a bunch of YouTube clips. If you want to know more about Tom or you want to check his stuff out, go to rearingyourtween.com. rearingyourtween.com, and it's an instructional series on rearing your tween. So go check out what Tom had to say. Tom was originally in Buffalo. Now I think he's in Seattle, and a comic and a writer, and I was really I loved the fact that he sent me a zine, and then I wrote him back and I told him what I thought of it, and he wrote this note expressing shock that I even looked at it. Like, I mean, dudes, if you send me stuff, I'll look at it. I promise. I mean, I don't make a big point of reading people's email and stuff because, I mean, enough people do that. And believe me, I'm busy filling time with all of my fucking nonsense. There's just no time to give credit where credit is due. But Tom, thank you for sending me that stuff. And Tom wrote me back, and he's like, I can't believe you even looked at it. Well, yeah, I do. If you send me stuff, I'll read it, and I love it. I'll go to your website and all that. So thank you, Tom. And if you guys want to go to rearingyourtween.com and check out his clips, they're also on YouTube. So go check out Tom's stuff. I want to thank Greg in Australia. I don't want to say Greg's last name. I don't know if he wants me to. But Greg went ahead and compiled a glossary. Not really a glossary. He compiled a table of contents for year one. He put it together. It's like 35 pages. It is. It has all of the liner notes that I made. He made a cover page using Panda Boy, which is the logo for the show, and then he put a listing of like table of contents, like what episodes you could find certain things that I talk about, and it was great. I can't believe he did it. But he said, and it's funny. He sent it to me a while ago, and then I did not acknowledge it. I think on the show I even said, hey, I think a guy sent me something and I never talked about it. Well, yeah, that's exactly what happened, because then Greg sent it to me again with like an angry note, like, I did send it and you never acknowledged it, and so I stopped writing you because you're a dick. He wasn't that harsh about it, but and rightfully so. If you send me something cool like that, I should acknowledge it. So I don't do enough of that, and thank you so much. So I want to thank Greg for sending me the table of contents. He's down under. So he'll get this, in a week? I don't know how that works. I upload them to iTunes. I don't know when the Australians get it. I don't know if there's some sort of aboriginal code where they can't get it until a certain time. Who cares? But thank you, Greg. And yes, oh my God, I didn't realize, because there's so many people to thank, because I don't thank anybody, so I'm thanking them now. All right, I'll I will thank. Yes, you're giving me the wrap up sign. No, that's fine. You're the producer. So folks, all right. I have to. This is the last one. I have to throw this out there. A listener named Barry sent me, first of all, he wrote me a tweet yesterday asking me a question, and I couldn't figure out why he was asking me this question, but I didn't get to answer him. Then I got an email from Barry, and what Barry did, do you remember a couple episodes back when I mentioned slash fiction for the 40-year-old boy?
No.
Barry wrote a story, a slash fiction story about the podcast. And it's funny. It's called A Podcaster's Delight. And I read it yesterday and stunned by it. No one will ever see it. Barry said to me, he even wrote, he goes, you know what, you can put this on the site or read it on the show, but it's like 10 paragraphs long, so I can't read it on the show. I'm busy. I'm wasting enough time talking about Rick Springfield. So I can't read Barry's thing. And quite frankly, I can't read it because it would be incredibly uncomfortable for me to read this story. There's no way I could do it. But I want to thank Barry for his efforts, because I cannot believe that anyone even bothered to do it. Because there's another person on Twitter who mentioned they were going to be doing some slash fiction too, but I didn't get it or receive it because they're probably very busy with their life, as opposed to Barry, who went ahead and took the time to actually write this story. And I got to tell you, it was awesome reading it, and yet it was also crazy creepy and uncomfortable reading it. So suffice it to say, Barry's like, share it with everybody. No, Barry, nobody's seeing that. That is a your eyes only and a my eyes only. Nobody else is seeing that, Barry. But Lily, you can pretend that you're mad, but the second you started to read it, you would go, I can't. You would delete it. You would go, I can't read any more of this.
I want to do a podcast with it.
Yeah, no, you don't. All right. Thank you to all of you who have sent things. If you have things you want to send to the 40-Year-Old Boy podcast, to me, and you can send them to Lily as well. I get them to me, and I will get them to Lily. You guys can go ahead and write me at my P.O. Box, which I'm not going to give out on the air. If you want my P.O. Box, you want to send me something, write me, and then I will write you back with the P.O. Box. Because if I put it out in the airwaves here, the next thing you know, I get anthrax sent to me, and who wants that? Because I'm out of my Levaquin, so I can't get any more anthrax, folks. So there, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is thanked, and I've done all that, and I cannot tell you how I'm reading that Slash Fiction. I opened it up last night, and I read it at Graveyardville. I shrunk it, and I didn't read it until I went to work, and I'm sitting there in the office alone. It's quiet, and I'm reading it, and I'm going, oh, why does this make me feel? This makes me feel like I need to call a therapist or something, because it's so detailed, and it's Slash Fiction. It's exactly. Folks, I make offhand comments all the time. I don't expect you to take up the mantle and run with them. Next thing I know, someone's going to send me like some SpiderMan recipe. I don't want that. I mean, I guess I do. Although, quite frankly, I can match a SpiderMan recipe for SpiderMan recipe because I'm sure I've got something in a fucking drawer somewhere. I might even have the manual. If I can find the manual, I'll put a picture up of a winking nightcrawler telling you how to make garlic bread. That's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and try to find that so I can put it up on Facebook. Because Marvel Mania is closed now. They don't care if I expose the manual and the secrets of superhero cooking to all of you. Maybe you want to know how to do that. You want to be a superhero in your kitchen, folks. If you want to. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.